The history of World War II is one of those peculiar topics where the teacher or professor never needs to pause to explain to the class, why does this matter? Students never raise their hands and demand to know, why do we need to study this at all? If any of you in the audience know what it's like to teach math, if you know what it's like to teach French grammar, you know what it's like to have students put up their hands and demand to know, why are you teaching this to me anyway? Why does this matter? Somehow, it's very clear to everyone that our understanding, our narrative that we've construed and assert in the world about what happened in World War II and why it matters and what it means to us today, this is something quite integral to each of us individually in how we fashion our own political identity in the 21st century. And for many countries around the world, their sense of identity and purpose is still to this day formed by World War II. Oh, you think I'm just talking about the United States? You think I'm just talking about Australia, Canada, or Germany, or France? Have you heard of India? Have you ever thought about the way World War II is linked to the decline and fall of the British Empire and how those countries achieved independence? Have you thought for a minute about what World War II means to them? It's a big deal. It's been a big deal for a while, and it's going to continue to be a big deal. And of course, what you mostly see on the internet is right-wing demagogues who are challenging the official narrative about what happened in World War II for completely insincere and frankly evil reasons. And most of us who are maybe moderates, pragmatists in the center, or left of center, most of us don't ever stop to think, maybe there's really some benefit for us also in going back and re-examining the roots of fascism, the origins of Nazi ideology in Europe, and in evaluating the extent to which we ourselves maybe were raised with propaganda, even if that propaganda were constructed and construed and taught to us with no bad intentions whatsoever. I'll give you an example. My father had this aesthetic sense that to refer to Adolf Hitler as a madman, to refer to fascism or Nazism as insanity, was childish. That was a sort of unsophisticated redneck view of history. Whereas he felt, and he conditioned me to think also, it was erudite and sophisticated to evaluate what Adolf Hitler did as if it were a rational response to economic conditions after World War I. This may sound familiar to a lot of you in the audience. I think a lot of school teachers, primary school, high school, even in university, consciously or unconsciously, they want to rationalize what happened in this period of history. And in doing so, they are constructing propaganda. Frankly, they're giving a version of history that's flattering to Adolf Hitler and the Nazis, even if what they mean to do is to condemn it as harshly as possible. In rationalizing that chapter of history, you are, ipso facto, necessarily sweeping under the rug occult elements, esoteric elements, spirituality. And remarkably, in the year 2020, it's very clear to say those spiritual, esoteric, occult elements are the elements now being revived that are popular once again in the form preserved in the writings of Julius Evola. I prefer to pronounce his name Evola so that it rhymes with Ebola, but sadly the name is pronounced Julius Evola. Here's a Google Ngram chart showing you the resurgence in popularity since the year 2000. And keep in mind, Google Ngram is only showing you how many times this name appeared in print in books. This is not capturing how many times this guy is being discussed on podcasts, on YouTube, on websites like the original altright.com.
The New Age person never wants to go deep beyond the surface level feel-good aspects of their philosophies, which makes it the perfect religion for the New World Order because it allows its followers to be internally detached. It gives them a way to spiritually amuse themselves, but nothing more. Now, the difference with tradition is that there are several schools of fully developed thought where the path requires a real effort and will challenge the person to grow and develop. With any traditional path, you have to put in actual work, and there's no easy victories, no fluffy feel-good answers. So some aspects of tradition might be very appealing to New Agers, like the ones who quote the Buddha and put statues of him in their gardens, but it's ultimately just a fashion statement for them. To them, the Buddha was just this witty guy who makes them feel good, but as soon as Buddhism starts demanding genuine effort from them, they move on to the next feel-good thing.
One of the reasons why his name is bandied about so much on social media is that he's one of the few remaining philosophers of Nazism whose name will not result in you immediately getting banned from these same social media websites. And why is that? It's because Julius Evola, unlike a guy like Rosenberg, right? Rosenberg was more influential when they were both alive. He was more of an official spokesperson for and mouthpiece for the Nazi Party, and he also wrote about so-called spiritual racism, very closely comparable. This guy Evola, he kind of has a peg that he can hang his hat on as a Buddhist scholar,